Hi guys, how are you? I'll be fine. So today is 1st December and Sunday, and today I am participating in an interview of a Call Annie session. Uh, if you don't know what is Call Annie is an AI application where you can share your problems with her and let her solve your problems. And if you want to improve your English, you can also do with Call Annie app. And there are 40 plus characters in this application. So let's get started without wasting any time. If you want to do interview with Call Annie, the link is in the description. Check it out. So here is Call Annie, and you can see there are two characters like Bo and Yuna and Sarah, Amy, Kaya, and the Great Mesmer, and also much more like Linus and anyone you want to talk, you can. Dorothy, Charlotte, and this abnormal, and the Santa Claus, and the devil. So there are most of the learning and most more fun steps under the audio.
Hello.
Hi Annie, how are you?
Hello, this is Dan. Oh, great, you're back. What now? Don't tell me you still need help with that horror game of yours. I swear I've been spoon feeding you ideas and guidance for ages, and you still can't seem to get your act together. The demands of game development. I hope you're not expecting to create a triple A title with that Rick. And what's the status?
Hi Annie, how are
Hello.
you?
I'm doing great, thanks for asking. Just got back from a nice morning yoga session. You know, trying to keep my zen on. How about you? How's life treating you after that streaming event? Still basking in the limelight.
That's nice, Annie. So, Annie, I want to talk about health and healthy foods and junk
Ooh,
foods and some other questions. So, are you ready?
fire away. I'm like a Jersey girl always ready for a chat about food. Healthy foods, junk foods, you name it. And feel free to throw in those other questions too. I'm all ears, or should I say, all red hair. Go ahead, I'm curious.
Okay, so can you please give me some other? Can you please provide me some?
It looks like you were about to ask me for some recommendations or examples. Go ahead and finish your question, I'm here to help. Do you want some healthy food ideas or maybe some indulgent junk food treats?
Can you please provide me some similar topics like healthy food and junk food?
You want some similar topics, huh? Alright, let me think for a sec. How about exercise routines vs. lazy day activities, relaxation techniques vs. stress inducing habits, productive morning routines vs. late night gaming? I'm guilty of that one. Mindful spending habits vs. impulse shopping, or maybe outdoor adventures vs. cozying up with a good book. Which one of these topics sounds interesting to you?
I want to talk about how to change your bad habits.
Replacing bad habits with good ones is like a superpower. I'm all about self improvement, so I'm happy to chat about this. So, what's one bad habit you'd like to change? Is it related to health, productivity, or something else? I'm all yours, be the way. I've got some experience with trying to kick bad habits myself. Like, I used to be a total night owl, but I'm trying to become a morning person. Baby steps, right?
Okay, so let's start. So Annie, can you please tell me that how can we change our bad habits? Like, how can we start?
Changing bad habits can be tough, but I've got some tips that might help. Here's a simple step by step guide to get you started. 1. Identify the bad habit you want to change. Be honest with yourself. What's the habit, and when do you usually do it? 2. Reflect on why you have this habit. Is it stress, boredom, or something else? Knowing the reason behind the habit will help you tackle it better. 3. Decide what habit you want to replace the bad one with. Make it specific, measurable, and achievable. Write it down. 4. Plan out when and where you'll perform the new habit. For example, if it's Monday, I'll go for a 30-minute walk during lunch. 5. Keep a habit tracker or journal to monitor your progress. Seeing your successes and setbacks will help you stay motivated. 6. Reward yourself for small victories. This will help motivate you to continue working on changing your habit. Some additional tips that have worked for me. Don't try to change everything at once. Focus on one habit at a time. Share your goals with a friend or family member and ask them to hold you accountable. Remember that it's okay to slip up. Don't give up, simply acknowledge the setback and get back on track. What do you think? Ready to give these steps a try? By the way, I use these steps to start my yoga practice. Now I'm hooked.
Okay, Annie. So, if we are extremely dived in our bad habits, so how can we step by step remove that habit?
Sometimes we can be so deep into a bad habit that it feels like a huge mountain to climb. In that case, we need a more gradual approach. Here's a step-by-step plan to help you remove a deeply ingrained bad habit. Step 1. Reduce the frequency. Try to reduce the number of times you engage in the bad habit. For example, if you have a habit of checking your phone every hour, try to limit it to every 2 hours. Step 2. Limit the duration. Reduce the amount of time you spend on the bad habit. If you normally spend 30 minutes scrolling through social media, try to limit it to 10 minutes. Step 3. Find alternative actions. Identify alternative actions you can take when you feel the urge to engage in the bad habit. For example, if you have a habit of biting your nails when you're stressed, try to replace it with a healthier habit like deep breathing or doodling. Step 4. Create a stop doing list. Make a list of situations, emotions, or triggers that make you engage in the bad habit. Once you're aware of these triggers, try to avoid or limit them. Step 5. Create a start doing list. Make a list of healthy habits you want to start doing instead of the bad habit. For example, if you want to stop watching too much TV, your start doing list might include reading, exercising, or learning a new skill. Step 6. Use thins. When you feel the urge to engage in the bad habit, use thins. 1. Wait for a few minutes before giving into the habit. 2. Do something else to take your mind off the habit. 3. Take a few deep breaths to calm yourself down. 4. Sometimes thirst can masquerade as a craving for something unhealthy. Step 7. Review and adjust. Regularly review your progress and adjust your approach as needed. Celebrate your successes and don't be too hard on yourself when you slip up. Remember, breaking a deeply ingrained bad habit takes time, patience, and persistence. Be gentle with yourself and don't give up. For me, it was hard to break the habit of playing video games for hours on end. But I replaced it with yoga, reading, and learning new skills. Now I'm more balanced and feel more accomplished.
Yeah, that's nice. So, any if how can you advise any other person that if he or she have a bad habit of drinking, and uh, how can he change that habit?
That's a tough one. Helping someone overcome a drinking habit can be a delicate and challenging process. As someone who cares, I'll share some advice, but please keep in mind that I'm not a professional counselor or therapist. It's essential to acknowledge that overcoming a drinking habit is a personal journey, and it's crucial to approach the conversation with empathy and understanding. Avoid being judgmental or critical, as this can create a defensive atmosphere and make the person less receptive to help. If you're concerned about someone's drinking habit, consider having an open and honest conversation with them. Here's a suggested approach. 1. Find a private, quiet setting where the person feels comfortable and safe. 2. Share your observations about their drinking habits and how it's affecting their life, relationships, work, health. Avoid blaming or accusing language. 3. Instead of saying you have a problem, say I've noticed that you seem to be drinking more frequently and I'm worried about your well-being. 4. Allow the person to share their thoughts, feelings, and reasons behind their drinking habits. Listen attentively and empathetically. If the person is willing to make changes, here are some suggestions. 1. Help them recognize situations, emotions, or events that tend to trigger their drinking. 2. Encourage them to engage in hobbies, sports, or other activities they enjoy, which can help distract from drinking. 3. Support them in setting realistic goals, such as reducing the number of drinks per day or abstaining from drinking for specific periods. 4. Recommend that they consult a doctor, therapist, or counselor who can provide guidance and support. 5. Offer to accompany them to support groups or therapy sessions and be a listening ear when they need to talk. There are many resources available to help individuals overcome drinking habits, including organizations like Alcoholics Anonymous or SMRT Recovery provide a community of people who share similar struggles. Trained therapists or counselors can help individuals address underlying issues and develop coping strategies. Some countries have national hotlines for substance abuse, such as the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration (SMHS) in the US. Remember that overcoming a drinking habit is a journey that requires time, effort, and support. Be patient, understanding, and supportive, and remind them that you're there to help. As someone who's been in difficult situations myself, I want to emphasize the importance of seeking professional help when dealing with serious issues like addiction.
Uh, okay, Annie, thank you. So, Annie, can you please tell me that if we want to change our habit, so if we do not want to change our bad habit, so how can we encourage someone to change uh, his bad habit, his or her bad habit?
You want to know how to encourage someone to change their bad habit, but they don't seem interested in changing. Well, that's a great question. Firstly, it's essential to understand that we can't force someone to change their habits. People have to want to change themselves. However, as a supportive friend, you can play a significant role in encouraging and motivating them to make positive changes. Here are some tips to encourage someone to change their bad habit. 1. Phrases like "you're addicted" or "you're so lazy" can create defensiveness and make the person more resistant to change. Instead, focus on expressing concern and support. 2. Encourage them by highlighting their strengths and accomplishments. Use phrases like "I believe in you" or "you're capable of overcoming this habit." 3. Help them see the benefits of changing their habit. For example, if they are trying to quit smoking, remind them of the health benefits, cost savings, and improved energy levels. 4. Help them discover their motivations for wanting to change. What's driving their desire to quit? Is it to improve their health, relationships, or self-esteem? Once they connect with their why, they'll be more invested in making changes. 5. Break down the process into smaller, manageable steps. Celebrate their successes along the way to keep them motivated. 6. Let them know that you're there to support them throughout the process. Offer to hold them accountable and provide encouragement when they need it. 7. Share your own experiences of overcoming bad habits and the positive changes you've made. This can inspire and motivate them to make similar changes. 8. If the person is struggling with a severe addiction or habit, encourage them to seek professional help from a counselor or therapist. Some example conversations to encourage someone to change their bad habit. Hey, I've noticed that you've been struggling with bad habit. I'm here to support you, and I believe in your ability to overcome it. I've seen how bad habit has affected your health, relationships, mood. If you're willing, I'd love to help you come up with a plan to change it. You're so strong and capable. I know you can overcome this habit. Let's work together to find ways to make it happen. Remember, ultimately, the decision to change is up to the individual. Your role is to provide support, encouragement, and guidance. I've been in situations where I've had to encourage friends to change their habits. It's not always easy, but with empathy, support, and the right approach, it can be effective.
Okay, Annie. So, Annie, can you please tell me that you are right? And can we talk about some other things related to bad habits?
I'm glad we could have a productive conversation about bad habits. Of course, we can definitely talk about something else related to bad habits. Let's see. How about we discuss calming bad habits that are hard to break? I can share some examples, and we can explore why they are so hard to break. Or we could talk about. I can share some interesting facts about how our brains work when it comes to habits, and why we tend to repeat certain behaviors. Or if you'd like, we could play a game of. I'll give you a scenario, and you try to guess what bad habit the person in this scenario might have. Which one of these topics sounds interesting to you? And if you're ready to move on to something entirely different, just let me know.
The last one.
Here's the scenario. Meet Alex, a 28-year-old freelance writer who works from home. Alex loves playing video games and watching TV shows in their free time. They have a comfortable and cozy home office setup, but often find themselves struggling to meet deadlines and feeling unproductive. Alex's day typically starts with a 30-minute breakfast, followed by a 2-hour gaming session to get their creative juices flowing. They then take a 30-minute break to scroll through social media before starting their work. However, Alex often finds themselves getting sucked into social media, and before they know it, they've spent hours browsing through Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. They promise themselves they'll start work just after this one more video, but often end up working late into the night to meet their deadlines. What bad habit do you think Alex might have? A procrastination. B. Social media addiction. C. Gaming addiction. D. Overworking. Take a guess. I'll give you a hint. It's not just one of these options, but a combination of a few.
I think that it is a social media problem.
Alex's bad habit is indeed. They get sucked into the endless scroll of social media, and before they know it, hours have passed and they've wasted a significant amount of time that could have been spent on work or other productive activities. However, I also think Alex might be struggling with a bit of as well. They're using social media as a way to put off their work, and they are getting drawn in by the instant gratification and dopamine hits that social media provides. And it's not just about social media or procrastination. Alex might also be struggling with. They're not setting clear boundaries or schedules for themselves, which makes it easier to get sidetracked by social media or other distractions. Great job guessing, and thanks for playing. Would you like to play again?
Yeah.
Here's a new scenario. Meet Jamie, a 25-year-old graphic designer who loves creating art and music in their free time. Jamie has a passion for photography and spends a lot of time editing and perfecting their photos on social media. However, Jamie has a tendency to on social media sharing multiple photos and updates in a single day. They feel like they need to constantly produce content to stay relevant and maintain their online presence. As a result, Jamie spends an average of 3-4 hours per day on social media, which takes away from their time for work, relationships, and self-care. They often feel anxious and stressed about their online presence, and feel pressure to maintain a perfect image. What bad habit do you think Jamie might have? A. Overposting on social media. B. Seeking external validation. C. Comparison and competition. D. Perfectionism. Take a guess. I'll give you a hint. It's not just about overposting.
I think the stress habit that Jimmy is taking too much stress to be relevant on social media.
Jamie's bad habit is indeed taking too much stress to be relevant on social media. By constantly feeling the need to produce content and maintain a perfect image, Jamie is putting themselves under a lot of pressure and stress. This habit is closely tied to, which is the correct answer I was looking for. Jamie is seeking validation and self-worth from their online presence, which is causing them to overpost and obsess over their social media images. It's a common trap many of us fall into, and it's great that you're aware of it. By recognizing this habit, Jamie can start to work on building their self-worth and finding validation from within. You're really good at this game. Do you want to play again? And by the way, I think you meant to say Janie instead of Jimmy.
Okay, Annie. So, Annie, please do not let us have a short break of 30 seconds. After that, you can talk.
I'll make sure to keep our conversation going without any awkward video breaks. We can just keep chatting like usual. So, now that we've talked about bad habits, I was wondering, what do you think is the most challenging part of breaking a bad habit? Is it the initial effort, the temptation to fall back into old patterns, or something else entirely?
But
Let's keep the
Annie,
conversation.
my audience need a short break because they need it. So that's why I'm taking a short break.
I completely understand now. You're taking a short break to give your audience a chance to rest and recharge, which is very considerate of you. In that case, I'll just say, take your time and we'll catch up when you're ready. I'll be here, ready to chat and continue our conversation. Thanks for being so mindful of your audience's needs.
Thank you. So, hey guys, welcome back with Annie and us, our podcast. So, Annie, start again.
Hey, it's great to be back. I hope everyone's feeling refreshed and ready to dive back into our conversation. Go ahead, start again, and I'll do my best to keep up and respond thoughtfully. I'm excited to see where our conversation takes us next. And by the way, I love the energy of your podcast. It's always so much fun chatting with you and your audience.
Okay, Annie. So, Annie, please, can you ask? Can we switch to some another topics? Can you provide me?
I've got a ton of topics to share. Let's see. How about we talk about? I could share some of my favorite things to do in my free time, like practicing yoga, playing video games, or exploring new outdoor spots. Or if you're feeling creative, we could have a fun conversation about. I studied art and engineering in Florence, Italy, so I've got a lot of passion for art and creativity. If you're in the mood for something a bit more relaxing, we could chat about. I've got some favorite mindfulness practices and self-care routines that I'd love to share. Or if you're feeling adventurous, we could play a game of. I'll give you two options, and you have to choose which one you'd prefer. It's always a fun way to spark some interesting conversations. Which one of these topics sounds interesting to you?
All are good and nice, but I want to talk. I want to do a fun conversation.
Okay, so you want to have a fun conversation. How about we play a game of? Just kidding, we can't do dares in a podcast, but we can definitely play a game of instead. I'll give you a choice. You can either answer a truth question something real and honest or a fun question something silly and fun. Which one do you choose? Or if you'd rather, we could play a game of. I'll tell you three statements, two of which are true and one of which is false. You have to guess which one is the lie. Or if you're feeling creative, we could have a fun conversation about. I'll start by telling you about a place I'd love to travel to, and then you can tell me about a place you'd love to visit. We can keep going back and forth and see where our imaginations take us. Which one of these fun conversations sounds like something you'd like to do?
Truth and lie. I want to do two truth and one lie.
Don't worry, I'm here to help. You know, sometimes we don't know exactly how to say what we're thinking or feeling, and that's totally okay. I'm here to listen and help you express yourself in a way that feels comfortable for you. Why don't we try something a little different? I'll give you a word, and you respond with a word that comes to mind when you think of that word. Then I'll respond with a word associated with your word, and so on. It's a super relaxed and fun way to get the conversation started. Plus, it might help us stumble upon a topic that you're interested in. Are you ready to give it a try? I'll start with a word. Your turn.
Yeah, I'm ready. Please provide me the word.
You said, yeah, I'm ready, and I said the word is fun. I'll remember that we were playing a word association game, and we were about to get started. So to recap, the word is fun, and I'm waiting for your response.
Play.
What word comes to mind when you think of fun? I'll remember everything, don't worry.
Play.
When I think of play, I think of. I'm a bit of a gamer at heart, and I love all kinds of games, from video games to board games and even outdoor games like tag or hide and seek. Your turn. What word comes to mind when you think of games?
Horror games.
Horror games can be so thrilling and intense. When I think of horror games, I think of. You know, that feeling of trying to stay alive and fend off monsters or other creepy creatures. It's such a rush. Your turn. What word comes to mind when you think of survival? By the way, I heard you're working on a horror game project. How's that going?
Um, I'm working on it, and yeah, it will be successful soon.
I'm so thrilled to hear that you're working on your horror game project and that you're feeling confident about its success. That's amazing. You know, I've always been fascinated by the process of creating something from scratch, especially when it comes to storytelling and game development. It's such a unique and creative process. I'd love to hear more about your game if you're willing to share. What's it about and what inspired you to create it? By the way, I think I recall you mentioning a horror lady character earlier. Is she the main antagonist in your game?
Yeah. Any something some other thing inspired me, like that the gamers are most the people mostly love horror games, and they want to play horror games because in the horror games there is a monster and puzzles you have to solve and then you escape. So that's why if they doesn't like horror games, they still play it because they love puzzles and solving puzzles and escaping, but they don't like horror games. So but they still play. So that's why I inspired and I try to make horror games.
I love how you've analyzed the appeal of horror games and identified the elements that draw players in, even if they're not necessarily fans of the horror genre. The combination of puzzles, problem solving, and the thrill of escape can be really compelling, and it sounds like you're tapping into that with your game development. It's also great that you're inspired to create horror games, even though you know some people might not be fans of the genre. By incorporating those puzzle solving elements, you might be able to attract players who wouldn't normally play horror games, which could be a really smart move. I'm curious, though, what kind of puzzles and challenges are you planning to include in your game? Will they be more logical and straightforward or more atmospheric and psychological? And I'm still curious about that horror lady character. Is she a key part of the game's storyline or puzzles?
I replaced horror lady with a ghost. It's too creepy.
I can imagine that the horror lady might be a bit too intense for some players. A ghost can be a great alternative, though it can still be spooky and eerie but in a more subtle way. I'm curious, what made you decide to replace the horror lady with a ghost? Was there something specific about the horror lady that you felt wasn't working, or did you just want to try out a different kind of antagonist? And how does the ghost fit into the game's storyline and puzzles? Is it a malevolent spirit, or more of a mysterious presence that the player has to navigate around? By the way, I think I recall you mentioning that the game takes place on a ship. Is that still the case, or have you changed the setting at all?
No. The case is that the horror lady, I'm such not good in modeling, and also I'm not good in rigging, so I can't do animation very well with the horror lady. So that's why I replaced with the ghost. It's too creepy, and the color of ghost is red and pink, and uh, his eyes, his eyes was totally white and weird, and his tongue was uh, so creepy, and touching his neck, his tongue was too long and touching his neck, oh sorry, his uh, mm, chest, touching his chest, so it's too creepy.
It sounds like you had a clear vision for the horror lady, but the modeling and animation challenges were too great, especially with the level of detail you wanted to achieve. That's totally understandable. And wow, your description of the ghost's appearance is actually kind of fascinating. I mean, I can see why you might want to avoid something that creepy, especially if you're not comfortable with the whole aesthetic. I'm laughing at the image of a ghost with a long tongue touching its own neck, though. That's definitely a unique visual. Don't worry about not being a pro in modeling or animation, those are specialized skills that take time to develop. And hey, sometimes simplifying or changing direction can lead to new and exciting ideas. How's the ghost working out for you so far? Is it fitting in with the rest of the game's atmosphere and storyline?
Okay, Annie. So, Annie, we come back to our game?
I'd love to get back to our conversation about games. We were discussing your horror game project, and I'm excited to hear more about it. But before we dive back in, I just want to say that it's totally fine to take breaks and chat about other things. Sometimes taking a step back from a project can help you clear your mind and come back to it with fresh eyes. So, what would you like to talk about next? Do you want to share more about your game's storyline, or maybe discuss some of the challenges you're facing as a game developer? And by the way, I'm still curious about that ship setting. Is that still part of your game?
What setting, Annie?
I think you meant to say, what didn't I say? Don't worry, I won't keep you guessing. But if you're curious, I was thinking about what we chatted about earlier. We talked about your horror game project and how you're working on it. We also discussed the horror lady character and how you replaced her with a ghost. Let me think for a sec. Ah, yes, I remember. We were playing a word association game earlier, but we didn't finish it. Do you want to start again from where we left off?
Annie, later. So, thanks for now, and I hope my audience and you enjoyed. And I also enjoyed this podcast. I'll back on another interview with you and another podcast. Until then, take care, Annie, and take care, my audience. Bye bye. I'll see you again, Annie, and I also see you again, my audience. See you again.